A lot of films treat childhood like something fragile you have to seal off from the world. Others treat it like something you're supposed to outgrow as fast as possible. What Studio Ghibli does feels quieter and more honest. Childhood isn't protected from reality. It isn't sacrificed to it either. It's shaped inside it. Kids are allowed to encounter grief, responsibility, wonder, boredom, fear, joy, and confusion, all without the story rushing in to translate those experiences into adult meaning. That's why these children don't feel like lessons. They feel like memories you didn't realize you were still carrying. Take Kiki's delivery service. Kiki's story is often framed as independence, but what always hit me harder is how early she runs into exhaustion. She leaves home optimistic, capable, and excited to be useful. And slowly, without anyone being cruel to her, that usefulness starts to cost her something. People expect things, customers pile up. Her identity becomes her output, and her magic fades. What's striking is that no one scolds her for burning out. The film doesn't call it weakness. It treats it like a natural consequence of turning play into obligation too fast. And Kiki doesn't recover by working harder. She recovers by resting, reconnecting, and remembering that her value isn't tied to performance. That's an incredibly adult lesson, placed gently inside a child's story. Then you move to The Boy and the Heron, and you get Mahito, who feels almost like Kiki's inverse. Mahito doesn't overextend himself. He withdraws. He doesn't accept comfort easily. He doesn't trust wonder just because it's beautiful. His grief makes him skeptical and guarded, and the film never frames that as something that needs to be fixed quickly. It respects his resistance. Even the fantasy world bends around him instead of swallowing him whole. Mahito's childhood is imaginative in a loud way. He's learning that not every escape is healing, and not every invitation is safe. That felt painfully real to me. Sometimes childhood isn't curiosity first. Sometimes it's caution. And then there's Ponyo and Sosuke. Sosuke lives in the present in a way that almost feels radical. He promises because promises create stability. He protects because protection is something he can do. He doesn't hesitate. He doesn't overthink. When Ponyo exists in front of him, that's enough reason to care for her. And what I love about Sosuke is how Ghibli never treats his certainty as childish ignorance. It treats it as clarity. And his parents matter here. Lisa's composure, her trust, her refusal to panic, even when things spiral, gives Sosuke emotional footing. And Fujimoto's fear shows the opposite. Control without trust suffocates. And love without steadiness lets a child act freely. That contrast says so much without ever explaining itself. And then when you look at My Neighbor Totoro, you see childhood split into two rhythms through Satsuki and Mei. Satsuki learns how to hold it together too early. She translates adult anxiety into responsibility. She keeps moving because someone has to. Mei does the opposite. She fixates, wanders, and imagines. And then she gets lost because staying still would mean sitting with fear she doesn't have words for yet. Neither response is wrong. They're two survival strategies inside the same house, and the film never punishes either of them for it. Then Ghibli takes that same honesty and removes all cushioning in Grave of the Fireflies. Setsuko isn't symbolic. She's literal. She plays, pretends, asks questions. But then she starves because no one steps in soon enough. Her innocence isn't protection, it's exposure. What devastates me every time is how her behaviors don't change even as her body fails. She keeps being a child because that's all she has. And then there's Castle in the Sky. Pazu and Sheeta feel like children who grew up adjacent to labor and loss. They're competent, but not hardened. Curious, but not naive. They've learned responsibility without losing gentleness. What stands out is how much of their strength comes from cooperation. It seems like no one survives alone in that film. The kids don't outgrow the adults. They just move along with the ones who are willing to listen. Across all of these stories, I keep noticing the same pattern. Ghibli doesn't divide children into pure and broken. It shows how all of these things, environment, parenting, absence, presence, and temperament, combine into something specific, unique, and unrepeatable. That's what's quietly shaped how I think about my own childhood, and honestly about the idea of raising a child someday. These films don't pretend parents have to be perfect, but they're very clear about something else. Children don't get a fair starting line on their own. They inherit the emotional climate they're born into. If parents don't reflect, regulate, soften, and grow, the kids will carry a weight that was never theirs. Knowing Miyazaki's complicated relationship with Goro Miyazaki makes this hit even harder. It's like the films are doing the work the man struggled with, and at the same time, Ghibli never says a hard childhood disqualifies you. If anything, it suggests the opposite. Hardship can destroy you, absolutely, but it can also sharpen empathy. It can teach you what not to repeat. It can turn pain into attentiveness. I wasn't proud of who I was early on. Going through difficult things didn't make me better right away. It made me rough first. But over time, it felt like filtering, like sifting sand. At first, it's all grit and broken pieces, but if you keep working carefully, honestly, you start to notice small things catching the light. Not perfection, just clarity, maybe even value. That's what these children represent to me. They aren't ideals, they're processes. Ghibli doesn't tell you how to raise a child, but it does remind you what it feels like to be one, and quietly asks what parts of that you're willing to protect, in yourself and in others.